Hey guys, welcome back to Amanda's Cozy Corner. So glad to see you again. It's the first week of December, and that means it's time to take stock of the goals and resolutions that we made at the beginning of the year. And let's be honest, do some last minute work to see if we can check some of those boxes off. So the biggest one that I wanted to focus on is the fact that I really wanted to be very intentional about reading from my shelf and reading the books that I had purchased physically. I gotta be honest, didn't do such a great job this year. At least not that I've tracked, and I've kind of gone through to make sure that I wasn't just forgetting to fill things in, and I was keeping up with all of the tracking. There just wasn't a whole lot of physical reading from this bookshelf, even though there was plenty of book hauls and buying that happened. So to speed run this challenge, I think I have about 12 books left that I have to read this month physically in order to say that I accomplished my 2024 goal. I am going to count individual manga volumes as books because they are books. It is reading. I didn't want to. I originally was not going to count manga volumes as books, but I don't think that there's a physical way for me to read 12 books by December 31st. So I will also be upfront that this is like the fourth time that I've filmed this intro. So I've already read, I guess I'm not counting it, but I'm going to put it in here anyway because I read The Spell Shop on Kindle and really liked it. So I wanted to share my thoughts with you guys. Here we go. Right. Hello, my friends. So I decided I was going to go ahead and read The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. I'm really liking it. It is very, very clearly in the same vein as Legends and Lattes. And I thought this was going to have a slightly more plot than it has so far. Although I will say it's setting up some nice little interpersonal dynamics, mysteries, things that we need to discover about the setting, the island. I thought the idea of having a talking plant or a sentient plant, I wasn't sure how that was going to work out, but it actually is really working for me, and I now am wondering whether my plants hate me or not. I think this is really hitting the spot for me. I think it's because it's in the same vein as Legends and Lattes. I really appreciate the fact that the main character just hates people. Just does not want to be a social person. I respect that so much. And it's just it's very cute because you get to see the inner turmoil, and I like the fact that she recognizes that she's an antisocial person and sort of has to give herself a little pep talk to be that was not nice, but be nicer, be more social. So that I've been really appreciating and liking. I'm in chapter 10, so far so good. I don't know, I'll probably check in at the end of the book. See you guys. We just finished talking about The Spell Shop again. That was was it a 5-star read for me? I think it just hit me. It's it was the right book in the right moment. I'm not really sure if that was 5 stars. It was just a good, solid, cozy fantasy. So solid 4, maybe 5. I don't know. For me, a 5-star read is something that I'm going to want to read again in the future, and that may be true of that book. The next book that I have picked up for the purposes of this video is A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch. This is book 2 in the series by Sarah Hawley. The first book I've been pretty critical of, not so much in that it's a bad book, it's more that I thought that it was too surface level, too superficial for some of the problems that are presented to our characters. It's very sweet, it's tooth-achingly sweet. It's this really fun, cozy, paranormal romance. And the same for this book that is between our female main character, who's a witch, and the male main character, who is a demon. That is true for both books. So far, I actually really like the dynamic between our two characters in this second book way more than I'm liking the first book. I do think you need to read these in order. They're not necessarily standalones in order to get like a full, appreciation for the characters in this book in particular. This dynamic is so good. The snark, like, so well written. It's not super cringy. It's a little over the top, but like that's kind of the tone of the book, so it works. As I mentioned, I am also going to be including manga volumes in this challenge. So I did catch up with Snow White with the Red Hair. This is the third volume. This is the last volume that I own. There's like 20 some volumes released already. This is also a very cute, cozy romance that features, a prince and a girl who doesn't have any sort of nobility or standing, and how they overcome that. And there's no easy answer. And that's, I think, what I like the most about this, is that there's no just, oh, well, it's fine because they're in love. There are obstacles that they have to overcome because of the social structure of the world that they're in. And they both respect each other's goals and support each other's goals. And it's just a really healthy relationship that gets portrayed. And that's not always true of stories in general or manga in particular. So I'm really enjoying this. I am so tempted to order the next volume, but I'm not going to, because we're not adding to the shelf. We're trying to take away from the shelf right now. In that vein, I'm also catching up to the volumes that I have of Spy Family. So I finished volume 3, which I really liked. I keep hearing that the first 4 volumes are the best, and then it kind of like goes downhill. I'm hoping that's not true, because I'm like liking this more and more. So our Spy Family is comprised of a group of people who just kind of agree to pretend to be a real family, and they are slowly turning into a real family who looks out for each other, who cares for each other, but they all are hiding secrets. And in the sort of silly way, they've all slipped up and sort of outed themselves, and everyone just never catches on. So it's a really kind of cute, humorous, heartwarming story about family, choosing family, and forming your own family. So finished volume 3. I have volume 4 ready to go. This is kind of my easy reading. I'm like so excited we get to meet the dog in this one. I have not watched the anime. I haven't watched anything, so I have no idea what is going to happen next, but it looks very cute. With that, I will check in a little bit. I'll let you know where we end up and what the next read is going to be. This is like kind of a fun thing, because it's just going to be a lot of mood reading and picking a book that I think I can finish in a short amount of time, because we got to keep this thing rolling. No time for slumps. There's no time for delays. We just got to it's honestly at this point, it's like every other day I got to be finishing a book. That's a lot. It's a lot of reading that's going to happen. So stay tuned. I thought this would be a good time to check in and give you an update on some of my reading. I did finish A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch. This is the second book in, I think it's called the Glimmer Falls series. It is by Sarah Hawley, and it's a very cozy paranormal romance series. I gave the first book 3.5 stars, giving this one 4. I did like it better. I thought that it showed a little bit more nuance and layer. There is a bit of a amnesia trope, so if that's not your thing, this book is not going to be for you. That said, it's still very sweet, very cozy. It's like most romance books, or like of this sort, where our guy and girl or our two love interests, have to kind of go on a quest together, but there's no real reason why it just needs to be the two of them other than like they just decide that they're going to go there. Like they're just going to go on this quest together. I liked it. I thought the romance was cute. I wish that the amnesia didn't turn Astaroth, our main demon dude, into like almost a completely different person. I won't say that he was like the most horrible person in the first book, but like there was a lot more like willingness to be conniving and lie. And I kind of wish that had carried over or was on display a little bit more. I think that would have made this a much more interesting book. But otherwise, perfectly fine, adequate paranormal romance. Very much on the cozy side, if that's what you're into, would highly recommend. So, moving on, I really had a hard time deciding what I was going to read next on my shelf. And I think I'm going to stick with the romance thing because it's just easy. I read them really quickly. They're like popcorn reads to me. I can fly through like large quantities of pages in a fairly reasonable amount of time. This book was, for example, was just about 400 pages, and I finished it in like 2 days. So that's not bad at all. I think my next book is going to be Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey. The queen of filthy, dirty talk in romance. I love that she writes these like golden retriever boyfriends that just turn into like the dirtiest talkers in bed. I'm a sucker for it. It's a trope that she uses time and time again. And you know what? It works for me. It really does. Unfortunately Yours is a second book in a standalone series as well. My understanding is that this is more of a standalone, although like most romance series, characters from other books do make appearances in some way, shape, or form. You might get little snippets of their life after they've gotten together, etc., etc. Natalie Voss is the youngest daughter of the local old money established vineyard family who has fallen on hard times. And they are now starting to pick themselves back up to become a more functional family. She decides or has this sort of contentious relationship with a new blood vineyard owner who doesn't know a thing about making wine and is making like disgusting, not good wine. His name is August Cates. He's a former, I think, Marine. He was in the armed forces in some capacity, and that's kind of what got him into vineyard ownership and winemaking, because his late best friend, like, apparently just loved wine or loved making wine. So they decide to enter into a marriage of convenience, and that apparently is where the story picks up. I'm here for it. These two had such funny banter in Secretly Yours that I don't know why it took me so long to like get to this book, other than that I had such high expectations for it that I didn't want to ruin it. So I'm hoping that this is a true hate to love, enemies to lovers story, that because you could see that they were just like snipping at each other, but there was a lot of like fiery passion or potential for passion in their exchanges. So I am going to get started, and I'll let you know what I think when I get a little bit further in. Okay, I had to like turn everything back on real quick because I just have to read this first page to you guys. Or not this first page. I have to read this first line to you guys. It says, "For as long as August Cates could remember, his dick had ruined everything." And I don't know why, but I just think that's the funniest first sentence of a book that I've ever read. And I'm here for it. Like, oh my gosh. Oh, I can't. I think I'm gonna love this because I mean, they're like talking about it like immediately follows by him saying that he had a hard on during the pep rally while standing in front of the entire school in football pants. And his middle school nickname was Woody, but because his classmates couldn't call him that in front of his teachers, they had to call him Tom Hanks instead. And I'm dying. I am dying. I don't think I'm ever gonna look at Toy Story the same way again. Oh, okay. If you want to know, like, these books are hilarious. Like, they're so funny in like clever ways. You know, like there's dumb humor, and I'm here for that. Like, I love a good like slapstick humor. And then there's like this kind of stuff that I don't know why it's so funny to me right now. If I try, I'm even saying it out loud, it's like I'm not doing this justice, but it's so I'm going to be giggling throughout this whole thing. I just know it. It's just what it's going to be. All right, guys, just checking in. It is a couple hours later, and I am like flying through this book way faster than I thought I was going to. So I'm at page 193 already, and I kind of just looked up and realized that, oh my gosh, that I'm that far, and I haven't talked about it at all. I'm really loving it. I really love Tessa Bailey's writing. She writes in a way that is really easy to fall into the story, really easy to just get kind of sucked up into the plot, to see the world. Her characters feel like they're real people, in like a movie kind of way. You know, it's like, yeah, I like very clearly a lot of this stuff would not happen, right? Or that it's a little cliche in parts, but overall, like, it feels like a well-produced movie, and, you know, maybe not real life, because, like, real life's a little not normally this dramatic as a romance novel, right? But I love the fake dating trope. I love the, you know, catfighty relationships where like they're both kind of prickly, but they're not like cruel to each other. And I feel like I think that's very evident in the last couple of books I read. Like, I seriously have not moved since I started reading this, but like very much the same dynamic with, you know, in The Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch, like both of them just very like a contentious, like likes the fight, likes the banter sort of relationship. And that's definitely the same in this book. So far, this book is very much looking like it's going to be a 4-star-ish book. I feel like I don't rate contemporary romances super highly most of the time. Like, the best that I think I've given a contemporary romance, well, that's not true, because I think Funny Story, I gave a 5. But, like, Emily Henry just is more, in my mind, a literary story that focuses around romance, whereas the romance books are just written differently. And I think Tessa Bailey is, like, straddling that line between, like, the Emily Henry literary, you know, novel romance and just pure romance. So, but I do think I need to like come up for air, take a little bit of a break. That said, I think it's going to be time to play a little Switch. I've been like back in the Animal Crossing phase again. I don't know what it is. Every once in a while, I just end up getting a little bit of a, like, you know, the itch is back, you know? I played it through the Thanksgiving event again, which I had never fully done the Turkey Day event, and that was so cute, so fun. It definitely gave me the urge to decorate my island. I feel like also this time of year just gives me big nostalgia factor, and Animal Crossing 100% falls in that category of like things that I used to be obsessed with that I don't devote that much time to, and I don't know. They nailed that game. I wish it was still getting updates. Like, I wish it was still a little bit more relevant now. I don't know. I keep hearing rumors that like a new game's gonna come out, or like they're just waiting for the new Switch console to come out, and I can't wait for that day to happen because you're not gonna see or hear from me for like a week. I'm gonna be doing nothing but Animal Crossing. Oh my goodness. Do you want to come up? Come on, big jump. Hi. Oh, yes, we have a little puppy. We have a little puppy in the video. Yes, we do. Hi. Do you want to be in the video? Okay. Well, hi guys. Welcome back again. I've officially finished, Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey. I am going to give this a 4 stars. I really liked it. I think I've just grown to love Tessa Bailey's writing. I like that she follows, I won't say it's a formula, but all of her books have sort of the same tone. There's a good character development, there's good growing together. I like the conflict that these characters have. I like that it's a little different every time. So there's a lot of like sort of growing with each other that happens. A lot of like acknowledgement, a lot of people sort of course correcting in different ways. And that to me makes it feel very realistic. It makes it feel like plausible, like very rom-com-y, you know, in that everything is just a little over dramatic, you know, the way that a romance novel, in my opinion, probably should be. But it feels like something that you could turn into a TV show or a movie or something, you know, like that. And sometimes you just want to read the Hallmark movie. That's not, I mean, they're not even that cheesy. You know, it's like the 2010s rom-com phase, you know? It could fit right in with one of those, like, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, you know, that kind of movie, where it's sweet, it's kind of outrageous, but at the end of the day, like, everyone, it's a fan favorite, you know? So I'm kind of surprised that more people aren't talking about her books. She's got a lot of them. The ones I read have been wonderful. So, like I said, 4 stars. It's hard for me to give a romance 5 stars. I think it needs to be more than like a typical romance novel for me. But, I mean, I will continue to see her name and grab her books because I know that I'm going to have a good time. And that's what this one is for sure. So, I think for the final book of this vlog, I am going to read A Study in Drowning. This is something that I started this book and have not finished it, so it's a good excuse for me to just kind of check it off and get it off my shelf, because it just makes sense, why read a whole book when I could read part of a book. So let me grab it. Okay, so when I stopped reading it, and I don't remember why, I think I just stopped reading it because I put it down and just never picked it up again. I was on page 37, so I still have pretty much a whole book to read, but this is going to be a very interesting book, I think, because I've heard that it was mismarketed, and I've also heard that people were very disappointed by the way that it was mismarketed. So because I've forgotten pretty much everything about this book and how it was marketed, how it was portrayed, there's a chance that I end up liking it because I don't remember anything about it. So other than people's disappointment, this was one of those booktube darling books that everyone got these beautiful copies of when it first came out, and then people just either didn't read it or, like I said, had some pretty negative reviews, even though I don't think that a lot of people complained about the book itself. Like I said, I think it was a marketing miss, and that maybe if it had been marketed differently, folks would have liked it more. So we're going to give this one a shot, and I'll be back in a second to tell you, the synopsis first and what I'm thinking of the first few chapters after I'm not even going to call it a soft DNF, because like I said, I think I just put it down and I forgot about it. So, yeah. Hey guys, I am just checking in with A Study in Drowning. I have reached page, let's see, 245 at this point, which is about halfway through chapter 15, I believe. Or just starting chapter 15. Oh, just kidding. Chapter 12. I've been listening to it on audiobook, so it's track 15. This book is like reading what an anxiety attack feels like. And I can't decide whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's well written. I don't mind the writing. The subject matter does make me feel anxious, so I suppose that means it was a bit of a success. Things have definitely taken an interesting turn. I feel like we're getting this a very slow build, a very piecemeal way of getting little bits and pieces of the story, but it is good. I am interested. I think this is definitely going to be a book where my rating or my feelings towards it really hinges on the ending and whether the ending was executed well or not. I could see where people would get turned off from this book by now, just because it is such a slow build. So it'll be, like I said, I think this is going to really depend on how the ending is executed. So far, it's a very sweet dynamic between Effie, our main character, and Preston, our, I guess, supporting character. They have a very cute budding romance where no one's really confident enough to make a move. They're very shy and considerate around each other. They have a lot of tension, butting heads, but they're slowly growing closer, growing more, like bringing each other into their confidences a bit more, which is, it's nice to see that happening slowly over time and sort of like earning trust instead of a lot of the romantasy, like insta love, tropes that happen. I guess that's all I really have to say about it right now without giving too much away, because it just, it feels like, even for 245 pages in, it feels like we haven't accomplished very much other than to establish that our setting is creepy, that men are creepy, that our main character, Effie, is a fearful, anxiety-ridden human being. It'll be interesting. I think I only have about 100 pages left in the book. I do like the sort of mystery and the questioning about who the author of Angharad, the book, the story that they are researching, that they are so focused on, is. I like how that is slowly unfolding. Some of these clues are a bit too convenient, I think, for this plot. I think perhaps an editor sort of poked and prodded and said, things are moving too slowly, give them, you need to continue the story instead of just lingering in this feeling of, growing dread and anxiety that just continues to happen. But the mystery, the research into the story itself is very interesting. I like the themes surrounding that, about who could be the possible other author. I think the obvious answer is going to be very apparent just with the themes throughout this book, just with Effie's own personal feelings and struggles in a male-dominated world, and that being something that has been a reoccurring theme. I kind of wish it was a bit less obvious and less apparent, or I hope that I'm wrong, and I hope that it's a red herring. And that there's going to be a big twist or a reveal. That would make me feel better, because I think that would be a more satisfying end, perhaps, if it was done well. But I don't know. I genuinely don't know how I feel about this book right now. Glad that I continued to read it, that I picked it up after letting it languish on my shelf for so long. I don't think it's ever going to become a favorite. Hey guys, I have officially finished A Study in Drowning. I liked it. I was completely right that the ending is really what sealed the deal on this book for me. I liked the ending. Here's the thing. I do think that my initial assumption that this book suffered from a bad marketing strategy was correct. This is a very dark book. I almost feel like it really should have had some sort of trigger warning associated with it, to be honest. Like the themes of sexual assault, control, power dynamics, while, very reflective of times in history, it was really, I think if I was reading it, it would be really hard to read that and not know that going in. And I didn't. I did not realize that that's what this book was going to be. It was a really good book. It's not a 5-star for me. In fact, I was really hesitant I'm still waffling between a 4 or a 3.5, just because when I think of what a 5-star book for me personally is, it's a good story that I'm going to want to reread over and over again. It doesn't need to be happy, but it needs to be something that I go back to when I want like a good comfort read. This is like not a comfort read at all. And that doesn't mean that it's bad. It's actually really well written. I liked how eerie it got. I liked how you question what reality is, whether we can trust our narrator, main character. I liked all of that. I liked the characters. I liked how they developed. I liked how well-rounded and flawed they were. So all of that is very good things. It's just, this is not normally the kind of story that I gravitate towards. The writing was compelling enough, especially when I was listening to it on audiobook. Like, this is a story that I think really benefited from having someone read it aloud and to like hear the English accent, like narrator going through and kind of giving everyone a different tone really helped me like get into the personalities of the different people. So yeah, I think like somewhere between a 3.5 and 4, maybe a 3.75 is where I'm going to fall on this one. Just because it's not normally my cup of tea. Yeah, I mean, the more I thought about it, I finished it last night actually and like slept on it, thought about it this morning. And I keep going back to this book really should have been marketed differently. I think it was marketed more of as like a dark academia, romance sort of novel. And there are hints of that there, but it's really more of like, it's like a deep dive into like someone's head who's experienced deep traumatic things and has like the ensuing PTSD, anxiety, depression, low self-esteem that accompanies that. And I think if you're not prepared to deal with those things, this is not going to be a book that you should read. Readers should be forewarned when they go in that there is going to be like surface level, like nothing, like no sexual assault actually ever happens on page. This is sort of the aftermath, but there are like just comments and there are creeps and there are people who are just around our main character that just give you the ick. And sometimes that's enough to trigger those feelings again, you know? So there really should have been in someone's review, in, you know, the blurb online or something that like talks about this so that people go in with their eyes open, that this is not going to be just another romantasy, dark academia coded fairy tale. It has just a lot of stuff on here or in here that like makes it a very poignant story, very like, you know, a full-bodied story, and that's really good. But I can see where people would be blindsided by the way that this book was talked about in its blurb and in its just the reviews online, you know? So that was my real problem with it. Let's put it that way. I think I would read a second book. I like the character development enough that and the way that this book ended, I'm like, I do want to see what happens to these characters next. It could have ended here, right? This could have been a standalone. But if there is a second book, there's enough there that like you're left, especially the last line. Holy crap, if you've read this book and you know what I'm talking about. This last line just makes you go like, ooh, like what is going to happen? Like if it was left to the reader's imagination, I would have been fine. Like I could have imagined, you know, several different outcomes, right? But if there is like a sequel, I think it's going to be interesting enough to explore what that last line meant and to watch Effie and Preston's relationship grow beyond just the 1 month that they've known each other or whatever and fallen in love. It's, I think, a 3.75. I'm solid on the 3.75 now. So with that, these are the books that we have read. That is 5 more books that I get to cross off my 2024 reading goal of reading 24 books off my shelf. And that's huge because I read these all in a week. So I think we can do it. I am down to, I think, 7 books left that I need to read off my shelf by the end of the year. So I will see you in the next one, the next week. I'll fill you in how that's going. Bye.